that are, of course, trying to burn fat, right? So I'm going to be breaking it down to you. And also in this episode, I'm going to be sort of explaining why it's kind of irrelevant. When I say irrelevant, I mean I'm talking about eating healthy, although it's super fucking important, and I'm going to explain why. It's kind of irrelevant. Like, you don't need to eat healthy in order to actually see results, right? As weird as it sounds. So we're going to be breaking that down today. We're going to get rid of some misconceptions regarding diet and nutrition, or at least misinformation that you might have regarding diet and burning fat. So, without wasting any time, we'll be diving in. But of course, anybody and everybody on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching this, let me know how your day is going. Don't just sit there and watch this and stare at a screen. You know what I mean? I'm doing this live so I can interact with you. So you can drop comments, you can drop questions at any point in time throughout the recording. And at the end of the recording, I'll do my best to answer your questions. But before we get into it, I'm going to answer some questions anyway. Dalen, what's good? I fucking see you, bro. Kovir, what's up? People on TikTok, ask away for the next 3 minutes or 2 minutes or less, depending on how long it takes for me to finish this water, and then I'll get into it. All right. That water is done. You had your chance, except for Dalen. Dalen's smart. He asked the question. I've been all right, man. I won't lie. Been cooling, been cooling. Not much of an intense few weeks. No, I haven't been training as hard. Been really slowing down, and not putting my foot on the gas, for the lack of a better term. It's paying off. I had this like little it wasn't an injury, but it was like a tweak in my right wrist. It's like at the end here, I'd feel like a pinch, and it didn't stop me from training, but I didn't want it to get worse. And then there were some other things that came up too, and other priorities that to mainly take care of. So I ended up just putting the gym on the back burner for a little bit, focusing on what needs to be focused on for now, and then on the side also healing up this part of my wrist, which is honestly, I look at it as another plus, because I could have still trained with it, but other things needed to be taken care of. But I do appreciate you asking, my fucking dude. How's your day going? How have you been? How have you been, man? And of course, once you let me know, I'm going to break into this podcast episode. And then I'm going to be talking about how, it doesn't really matter what you eat, and you can still technically burn fat, but also why it's still important to eat healthy food, because it actually offers a lot of benefits outside of just like having more nutrients. It's like, for your fat loss journey, a hack if you eat healthy home cooked meals, because you could literally eat more and have less calories in your system. But we're going to get into that. As weird and as confusing as that sounds, I will try my best to explain that and simplify that in the easiest way possible. Adam, I appreciate the comment. Thank you on TikTok. Dalen says, "Hell yeah, bro. Day's good so far. I've been pretty good, just chilling and lifting." Yeah, man, chilling, lifting. What the fuck else is life for, right? Anyway, let's break it down. Let's get into this podcast episode recording. Again, guys and girls, I want to let you know, if you do have any questions, you are more than welcome to ask them. You are more than welcome to drop any comments at any point in time throughout the podcast recording. But I will be doing my best to answer your questions at the end of the podcast episode. So, with that said, with that out the way, we'll be diving into today's podcast episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Yo, what's good, meatheads? Hope you're having an amazing day, and welcome to another episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. It's your returning champion, IFBB Pro Matt Butale, coming at you with another topic. And today, I'll be talking about if it fits your macros, or IIFYM, if you've heard of that acronym before, which basically means eating whatever you want as long as it respects your caloric requirements, versus the method that works best. And I'm going to be talking to you guys and girls about the method that works best, or at least in my opinion. But before we dive into it, whatever social media platform you are watching this on or listening to this to, if you're listening to this audio recording or if you're watching this live, screenshot it, share it to your stories, tag me, let me know that you're watching, let others know that you're watching, share the information out. Maybe other people might need to hear what you are hearing today. All right, so let's break into this episode. Okay, my intention today in this episode is to help you understand that you can technically, okay, technically, and people have done it, so you can actually do it, but I'm going to say technically because of what we're going to talk about later. You can technically lose weight regardless of the foods that you select. I'm going to repeat that again. You can technically lose weight regardless of the foods you select, the foods you choose to eat. And yes, that even includes fast food and junk, of course. All right. But I'll be explaining the benefits of eating healthy home cooked meals and the advantages that you'll have in your fitness journey because of it. Okay. So, with that said, eating healthy matters, but it also doesn't. That's the theme of today's episode. So, let's get into this. If you could burn 20 pounds of fat in about 4 months by never eating a pizza, burger, cake, or any junk food again, ever in your life, would you do it? Here's what I think. I think you try to do it, but you'd fail. Okay. I mean, unless you completely hate burger, pizzas, and cakes and all that stuff, and like you actually hate that food. But if you actually like junk food, like me, I still like junk food. I'm ripped to shit, but I love junk food. It's not possible. It's not sustainable to say to cut out a food group forever, regardless, whether it's for you to burn fat, whether it's even for you to be healthy, right? As ironic as it sounds and as weird as it sounds, to cut something out and to alienate it completely is kind of like the worst way to go on about changing anything. It's like think of cold turkey, right? People that smoke, people that drink, to just cut it cold turkey. It's possible. Some people can do it, but it's very, very fucking difficult. Okay. But this is a little bit different because, I mean, although junk food and fast food isn't necessarily the best for you, it's not going to kill you the same way that smoking and, drinking will in the exact same way. Of course, it can kill you, heart disease and diabetes, things like that. We know already. Let's not get fresh. But let's look at it like this. If you completely try to cut out a food group, you'd fail. And I'm telling you this because I've done this and I've failed. And other clients that have come to me before they started working with me have done this and they've failed. Okay. And literally, you'll fail each and every single time you try to be that strict with yourself. It just doesn't work. And like, even for me as a professional bodybuilder, the only time where I really cut out food groups, it's not even permanent. It's only for the last 3 to 4 weeks, maybe even the last 2 weeks until I get on stage, which is an extreme process because I'm getting super depleted and it's way different. No regular human being needs to do that. And even for professional bodybuilders, some don't even do it throughout their prep. Some eat pancakes the whole way through. Like I had pizza about 3 weeks before I went on stage, right? And then leading up to backstage, when I was in the backstage, I was fucking popping gummy worms and eating Pop Tarts and having, jam on rice cakes and stuff like that, high sugar stuff, with some other things we call junk, like Pop Tarts, the Rice Krispies, and, the white bread. People fucking hate carbs and white bread and stuff like that. So I was eating that, but literally before I went on stage to look the best I've ever looked in my life. Right. So that's just one small example to show you that it kind of doesn't matter what you eat as long as like there's a function or a purpose behind it and you don't overdo it. Okay. But let's get back on track here because we're not bodybuilders, or at least you're not a bodybuilder listening to this, I assume. Okay. And if you are listening to this, you've got man boobs, you've got love handles, you've got a beer belly, whatever have you, and you want to, go through your fitness journey in the most successful way possible, in the way where you're going to feel the least amount of stress and get the most amount of reward, then you need to listen to this. Okay, guys, girls, mainly men, you could technically lose all the weight entirely eating junk food as long as you're in a calorie deficit. I'm going to repeat that and again. You could lose all the weight eating junk food as long as you're in a calorie deficit. So it doesn't matter what you eat technically, but it also does. And here's what I mean by that. Okay. So if you were to eat processed foods, which won't be good for you in the long run because processed foods are, mostly nutrient deficient, which can lead to your body functions getting thrown off or interrupted because you need micronutrients, you need your vitamins, you need all of those things. And if you have an imbalance of that, your body is going to be thrown out of whack. And if we can understand that, we can understand that if you eat more junk food or fast food, that you are technically potentially putting your body at risk for not being able to perform as efficiently as it possibly can, right? You're not optimizing your body's performance because you're not selecting foods that are rich in nutrients that will aid your body's ability to do so. But you can still burn fat and lose weight with junk food, technically, because if you're in a calorie deficit and you're eating less than the required amount of calories that you need in order to maintain your body weight, it'll still work for you. But here's the thing, although you're going to lose weight, you got to look at it like this. Well, it's not going to be A, sustainable, or B, you might not even like the look at the end of the fitness journey. You might not look at like really like it. And why? Because, well, if you're eating junk food or fast food most of the time and you're just looking at the calories and you're not looking at the macronutrients, you're in for a rough one. Why? Because you can lose all that weight But because you didn't eat a good amount of protein, which I would always recommend, and I've said in at least over 100 episodes, is 1 gram per pound of body weight. Okay, and of course that's going to vary depending on your fitness level and your activity level, your the amount of muscle you have on your body. That's going to vary, but baseline 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein, right? If you can do that while you're in a calorie deficit, you are going to be able to retain and if not gain muscle in the process of burning fat, which is ideal for looking the way that you want to look at the bottom of your journey, at the end of your journey. If you don't account for that and you only look at calories and you literally just go to the gym, you make sure you eat the right amount of calories, but you're like not focusing on your macronutrients, you're not getting enough protein in, you're going to notice that when you get down to that level, when you complete your fitness journey, you might look weak, feel like deprived, like tired all the time, constantly dehydrated, so many other things because you didn't tackle your protein or at least your macros in general. You just looked at the calories, which is why it's so dangerous. At least why I look at other people when they say, "Oh, if it fits your macros, IIFYM, like that's the way to go." I'm like, you could do that, but there's a way to do it where you're not actually fucking just leaning into eating only like fast food or junk food or shit. Like think of keto for example. If for those of you guys and girls that know how to eat or know about um, keto diet plan, I'm not going to recommend it. I don't like it. I'm not like I just don't recommend it. But if you decide to eat keto or have a keto diet, you can essentially choose the fats that you want to eat because it's a fat-based diet, and you could choose all the greasy, disgusting. I mean, I think it's disgusting because I don't like grease, but all the the fatty foods that you get at fast food stores and restaurants, things like that. You can get all those fat sources from the worst sources, the least healthy sources, and that's going to have an adverse effect comparing to if you were to get those fat sources from whole clean cooked meals from home, right? Like, for example, the fats from a juicy burger that you're going to get from a fast food restaurant versus the fat that you'd get from salmon if you cooked it. Omega 3 fatty acids, a better overall fat source, right? So the type of food does matter if we're talking about the nutrients that you're going to be getting. The type of food that you select does matter also in another field, which is how full you're gonna feel during your fat loss journey, which is super fucking important because I've noticed people that struggle with, burning their fat, getting rid of their beer belly, getting rid of their man boobs and their love handles, people that struggle with that the most are often the people that are the most strict with their diet. Okay. And the people that are the most strict with their diet don't give themselves the liberty to pick the foods that honestly taste good, but still have that benefit where, like, okay, they're getting the good macros, they're getting the good protein, carbs, and fats, and the calories still fit into what is required for them in order to stay in the calorie deficit, right? Like the people that are that strict don't understand that if you decide to select foods that are healthy, home cooked, you could technically be eating more of it, technically like more volume, a lot more food with less calories, which means you'll feel more full but have better results as opposed to junk food, fast food. Okay. If you were to eat that and still, we'll say respect your caloric requirements, you would technically be eating a lot less food in terms of volume and size. Like let's break it down for you guys and girls. Let's break it down. I'm going to bring out the math for you. Eating 11 Oreo cookies is about 583 calories. Okay. And eating 250 grams of rice, 170 grams of ground turkey or 6 ounces of ground turkey, and some veggies in that one meal is about 547 calories. So 11 Oreos, 583 calories, a whole fucking meal with rice, your selection of protein, and you got veggies in there, 547 calories. You literally get to have 25 less calories with way more food. Think of it. Which one is going to fill you up more? 11 bite-sized Oreos or a whole big ass meal, 250 grams of rice, 170 grams of ground turkey, however many vegetables you want. You can literally get as full as fuck, have a better macronutrient spread, meaning you get to still not only abide by your caloric requirements, but abide by the macronutrient requirements, mainly the one that we talked about in this episode, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You can abide by that. You can abide by whatever caloric or carbohydrate restrictions you might have, fat restrictions you might have, and customize them based off of your needs. Because again, this is home cooked, right? You get to literally create the meal, you get to create the macronutrients, and you can do that eating less calories, but literally feeling more full, which is the best of both worlds. Because the number one issue with people that are too strict is that they don't feel full. They're going to cut out an entire food group, and they're going to select foods that don't make them feel full. And then lo and behold, they're overeating whatever the fuck it was that they weren't supposed to be eating in the first place because they just feel so hungry, which I understand. And that is, it, to me, sounds just like a broken system. You need to understand, or at least like have a selection of foods that you can cook at home that are, of course, home cooked, that you like, that you can season the way you prefer to eat them, and that will still give you the results by keeping you in that caloric deficit while also honoring the macronutrient requirements that you'll need to stick to in order to continue seeing success in your fat loss journey. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Again, junk food and fast food don't have good macronutrient spreads. On top of that, they have fewer micronutrients. Micronutrients just means vitamins, things of that sort. Okay. And the worst part about it all is the nutrient density. As I said, 11 bite sized Oreos is 583 calories. A massive meal, 250 grams of rice, 170 grams of ground turkey, and whatever amount of veggies, whatever type of veggies you want to throw in there, it's not even 550 calories. It's literally almost 30 calories less, but way bigger. Like 11 cookies, a 3-year-old could eat 11 cookies, but a 3-year-old couldn't finish that big meal, right? So more food, less calories, better results, more muscle gain. It's the best of all worlds. And it's what I would encourage you listening to this episode to do if you aren't doing it and you want to get rid of your mad boobs. You want to get rid of your beer belly. You want to get rid of your love handles. Of course, training is you have to factor that in. Training and cardio factor that in a way where you can actually stay consistent with it 2 to 3 times a week, 15 minutes a day, Monday to Friday, whatever you can do, right? The training aspect is taken care of, and then the nutrition aspect should be something like this. I would recommend something like this, anything like this, to help you not only get the progress that you want, but to keep it. Because eating this way, allowing yourself to understand, well, I could technically lower my calories and still eat more food and get better results. Like understanding that comes down to the basic knowledge of, okay, what food am I putting in my mouth? And once you get a grip on the foods that you like, that you can cook at home, that you will put in your mouth, that you will season and you will like, and that you can actually stick to without feeling like, oh, this is too strict, you're winning, because then you can do this forever. And look, I'm not here to demonize junk food or fast food. As I said, I still eat junk food. I still eat fast food. The whole point of this episode is not to tell you to not eat it. It's to tell you when to eat it, how to eat it if you're going to eat it. Excuse me. And overall, what is the best approach for you to have a well-rounded diet so that you can, of course, continue to put on some muscle, continue to burn fat, but also not feel like you're starving to death. Because when you're starving, bro, everything looks good. And it's so easy to fall off your diet when you're starving. But if you select foods that won't make you starve and that still keep you in the requirement range for you to be losing weight in terms of caloric requirements, you're golden. Like you literally, like what more could you ask for? I'm so glad that that's an option, honestly, because if it didn't work that way, where the foods that we like that were healthy, like were less calories, if there were more calories, then I would understand how it would be, you know, a lot more difficult to eat clean. But it's a lot easier to eat clean because you could eat more. You can literally eat more. And if you say, "Oh, I'm a hungry guy, I can't really do 2,200 or 2,700 calories," that just means you haven't really eaten clean yet. Because if 2,700 calories, even though that doesn't sound like a lot of calories, if you are eating at least 80 to 90% of that with home cooked meals, that's a lot of food. But if you're going to go to eat that at a junk food restaurant or whatever food joint, 2,700 calories, it's probably three things on the menu, maybe two. Fuck. If you look at two, honestly, if you get two Big Macs, it's about 1,000 calories. Two Big Macs, right? Something like that. 2 to 3 Big Macs is about 1,000 calories. So imagine 6 Big Macs, and that's all you can eat for the day. As opposed to, first of all, one meal that we did was 500 calories. So just comparing Big Macs itself to the bowls of rice and Poultry, 3 Big Macs, okay, is about, let's say, over 1,000 calories. To get 1,000 calories, or sorry, 3 Big Macs is about 2,000 calories. To get 2,000 calories out of those rice meals, you need to have at least four, right? What was it? It was about 550. So one, two, three, four. It would be 2,100, right? And we're talking bowls of rice and meat here with veggies compared to like bite-sized burgers. Like you can finish a burger if you're a regular human being in 10 bites or less, 12 bites or less, whatever it is. But you understand the point here, right? There's more calories and less size when it comes to junk food, and there's less calories and more size when it comes to eating healthy and clean. So, eating healthy and clean, burning fat, staying in a calorie deficit isn't actually difficult as you think. And if you feel like it's difficult, it's because you don't actually select the whole foods that make you feel full and that will give you the benefit of also burning fat, building muscle, and of course, getting as many nutrients as you possibly can with the food selection. It just means you need to look into what you like that you can cook at home and literally rinse and repeat. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. Staying in a calorie deficit isn't difficult. It's not difficult. The only way it would be difficult is if you were giving yourself barely any amount of calories, in which that's an issue because that's crash dieting, and then you can just increase the calories. Reverse diet out of that. Fix your body's metabolism, fix your digestion, fix your bloating, and so many other things. If you've been doing that, your hormones, so many other things could go out of whack if you do that for a while. Okay, guys, girls, if you eat home cooked meals, healthy meals, okay, if you do that, it's easier. Like I don't know how many times I can repeat this for you. It's easier to lose weight. Like you could still eat junk food, and you still should if you want to sometimes. But if you stick to what I'm saying for like 90% of the time, 80% of the time was what I'll actually recommend. 80% of the time you stick to this, you'll be good. You'll be safe. And you can still have your pizza on the weekends. You can still have your burger on the weekends and all that stuff, as long as you're not doing it too much. And whenever you do it, it fits into your caloric requirements. Like again, just because you go out to eat, you know, at a restaurant or fast food, whatever it is, okay? Just because you go out to do that doesn't mean that you're not going to be counting your calories. And just because you're counting your calories doesn't mean you're going to be 100% sharp with it all the time. Like leave room sometimes for some mistakes, for some errors. We're human beings, we're not perfect. Sometimes we're going to go out and, we're going to have maybe 600 calories to spare, right? Because I decided to not eat an extra meal so that I can replace that meal with some extra junk food, and I go to this junk spot. I'm like, fuck. There's nothing here that's 600 calories. There's only some stuff here that's 700 calories or maybe 500 calories. You know, play with it. You might be on give or take 100 calories, and that's okay as long as you're not doing it every day, right? So it's not a big a deal as you think it is, especially if you're consistent every other day outside of the days that you decide to go and eat junk. And even when you're eating junk, you're still being consistent so long as you're measuring the total amount of calories, the total amount of macronutrients that you're consuming for that day, and trying your very best to stick to those numbers. Does that make sense? Okay. Again, the best part, when you're full, you're still technically eating few calories, like less calories, and you're benefiting from your fat loss journey. Okay. When you decide to eat whole, home cooked meals, which is why I recommend, again, throwing some junk food every now and again, 20% of the time, in a way where you respect your caloric limits, as I just mentioned, and your macronutrient limits, as I just mentioned, but still eat mainly wholesome meals that your body will digest better and be able to take more nutrients from. Because it's easier for you to tame your cravings if they're not as strong because you incorporate lower quality but tasty food 20% of the time. So like junk food, you can eat it 20% of the time, so long as you still play the numbers game and make sure that all the numbers check off with calories, the numbers check off with the protein. You can go into the carbs and the fats if you want, but for me, what I personally do, focus on the protein, focus on the calories, and I'm good. Unless I'm specifically getting ready for a show, or I have a specific intention of putting on extra muscle tissue in any point in time of my off season. But that would be different for me as a professional bodybuilder. For you, someone that's looking to burn fat, all you really need to do is make sure that 80% of the time, whatever you put in your mouth, so 80% looks like what? Out of all the meals that you eat in the day, okay? Let's say you have 4 meals. 3 of them are home cooked. One of them, you can have whatever the fuck you want. As long as it stays in the calorie requirements and the protein requirements, you can literally have whatever the fuck you want for that fourth meal. Or if you're just like me and you want simple shit, you could just eat the same home cooked meals throughout your day. Not the exact same meals. I mean, unless you're crazy. I don't do the exact same meals. I do similar meals. I'll just lay it out for you what I normally do. I have between, depending if I'm deep in my off season or not. I'll have basically this. So it'd be between 4 to 7 meals, depending on what I'm doing for that day. But I'll tell you technically the most that I'll possibly eat and still be able to stay lean. Okay, and this is not going to apply to you, of course, because we have different bodies, and I've got a lot more muscle and all that stuff. So I'd wake up, I'd have a bowl of oats, maybe 150 grams. Okay, and then I'll do 5 eggs, 200 grams of egg whites, cook that all up. All right. And that's meal one. Meal number two would be rice, 250 grams. Okay. And then I do 6 ounces of chicken. Meal three would be rice, 250 grams. And I do 6 ounces of turkey. Meal number four will be rice, 250 grams again. And then I'll do the chicken again. And then I'll do the last rice meal, which is the fourth rice meal. I'll select a fish, right? So I'll do any kind of fish, 6 ounces, and then 250 grams of rice. Throw in veggies wherever. They don't really have many calories, so I don't count them. I don't really care too much, but that's 5 meals already. And then if I'm like deeper in the off season and I'm putting on some extra tissue, I need some extra carbs. What I'll do is outside of those 5 meals, I'll add 2 extra meals. One of them being a liquid meal and one of them being a pasta meal. Liquid meal, what is that? It could either be a carb shake or it could be a protein shake that I throw some carbs into anyway. Or and then my last meal would be like a pasta meal, right? Which would be like 330 grams of penne, and then I got some ground beef, extra lean ground beef in there too, right? So that's 7 meals for me, and that would average up to about 7 meals would be at least 4,200 or 4,400 calories or 4,000 calories, depending on what I'm selecting, right? So between 4,000 to 4,400 calories, right? And that's 7 meals. If I wanted to eat 7 meals of junk food, that would easily I wouldn't even be able to eat that, first of all. That would be way too much food, way too many calories. Even the size of the food will be less. I could technically eat it, but the impact on my body is gonna be a lot greater, right? And in a bad way. Why? Because it's going to literally 7 meals. That's easily over 6,000 calories in junk food, right? So we have to be aware of these things. All right. I can technically eat more if I choose to have healthy home cooked meals because I will feel more full eating 7 healthy home cooked meals than if I were to eat 7, different types of junk food. I would feel way, 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 way more full eating whole cooked foods because it's just a lot more food, right? So understand that. Again, you have to eat in a sustained and calculated way in order to do this for the rest of your life. If you are only going to do a diet because you want to get a certain outcome and you get to that certain outcome and then you stop doing that diet, then you're not going to keep your gains. You're not going to keep the fat off. So you kind of just did that for nothing. The whole point of this all and every client that joins the Natural Nomad Academy is for them to at least by the time they leave and graduate the program, they have the knowledge in their head to be able to select foods that they like to eat, season them the way they want to eat them, get the results that they want to get from the nutrition plan or from the food, right? And continue to do that for the rest of their life while still having a balance and eating whatever junk food they want to eat whenever they want to eat it outside of the 80% of the time that they do eat clean, healthy, home cooked meals and develop those healthy habits. Does that make sense? Again, you create breathing room, so it's way less likely for you to suffocate yourself with strictness and binge eat because you try to ignore your cravings. So never ignore your cravings. Find a way to factor them in, but also do understand the value of the food that you currently do eat and don't be so strict with your food selections. After all, it's better to eat clean, meal prep meals 80% of the time, okay, and be consistent for 12 months doing that than to be 100% strict, never eat pizza, never eat burgers, never eat donuts, but only be that strict for 12 weeks because you literally can't bear the cravings. You have to give in and then you eat too much and then you repeat that cycle over and over. So it's better to be consistent for a year, 80% of the time, than to be consistent 100% of the time for only 12 weeks. 12 months versus 12 weeks. What would you rather have? Okay. The most sustainable method always works and offers the best permanent results if you can actually do it. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is be able to do it. And if you can't do it, then that's not the program for you. All right. That's it. That's all. If you like this episode, share it out with a friend. Thank you so much for your precious time and attention today. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. I hope you got the message with today's podcast episode. Really, I really do. All right. So let's embrace your inner meathead together. It's been nice chatting. Hope you like what today's topic was about. See you next time. IFBB Pro, Matt Brutale, signing out. Boom. All right. Podcast episodes recorded. Got a question here on TikTok. Says enjoy being at 1. Oh shit, 1.1k likes on TikTok. I appreciate it. Thank you, motherfuckers. TikTok, dope. Dorita says, according to my calculations, what would you say is the best well-rounded meal? I just joined. So the best well-rounded meal is any well-rounded meal. Number one, do you enjoy what you eat in terms of the food selection? If the answer is no, then switch that to make it yes. Okay, with the foods that you like at home, maybe even the foods that you grew up on. Excuse me. I eat a lot of the foods that I grew up on. So that's why I don't have issues with the selection. So if you actually like what you're eating, you season it well, and you like the way it tastes, the best well-rounded meal outside of that is making sure that you have at least bare minimum, and again, it's going to vary for every human being, 40, maybe 30 to 40, 30 to 50 grams, we'll say, depending on who you are, of protein per meal. Okay. I would say nothing really more than 500 calories at most per meal. Okay. And you want to have some healthy fats in there. And you want to have a decent amount of carbohydrates in that meal. Anything between 1 to 300, again, depending on who you are, because it's going to be very specific based off of who you are, where you need to go with your physique, what you're doing, how lean, all those variables are going to have to be accounted for. But a well rounded meal, bare minimum, bottom line, you get at least 30 to 50 grams of protein in that meal. And the meal is at least bare minimum between 300 to 400 calories, bare minimum, right? So that you can actually stack up the calories that you need throughout your day without having to eat so many meals, if that's the type of person that you are. But again, so if you like to eat less meals, you may want more protein in your meals. That could be a better, well-rounded meal for you, because you'd have to eat less times throughout the day, but still be able to hit your targets. Right. So well-rounded, that definition is of course going to vary for everybody, but a well-rounded meal, again, just make sure you're getting your protein, make sure the calories aren't too high in that meal, and you have a decent spread of calories, or sorry, of carbohydrates and fats based off of where you need to go with your physique. So that's my answer to your question. Kay, your name is Kay. All right. So that's what it is. Okay. Let's see here. On on Instagram. Instagram says, so Tristan. Oh, shout out my boy Tristan Lee. Just joined, or he joined earlier on this podcast episode. He said, certainly does. I don't remember what point he was responding to, but he's definitely paying attention. So I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Really, really do. Let's say Dylan Lift says, I like how Tristan joined right as you were talking about keto. That's funny. I know, because he did do keto, I think. That's funny. That is funny, really funny. Flex, thanks for joining. Boons, what's up? Sean, what is good? Bonjour, I see you. Hey, thank you for joining. Right, cool. That's it. That's all, people, guys and girls. Thank you so much for your precious time and attention today. We'll be back again with the last episode of the week tomorrow. You know what time it is. Hope you motherfuckers have the motherfucking best Thursday of your goddamn life. IFBB Pro Matt Brutale signing out. Boom.